Welcome to Sleep with Reason. I'm your host, Sober Without God. This is the Fall Asleep series. This series is designed to help you fall asleep while listening to stories about the scientists and non-believers who have made an impact on our world. If you're like me and have trouble going to sleep or staying asleep, videos like this may help you relax while also learning. It is my hope that hearing these stories in a calm and peaceful way will help guide you to the relaxation and sleep you're looking for. Before we begin, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. It's a big help to the channel and will encourage me to make more like this. My goal is to be able to make these videos ad-free as the channel continues to grow. These videos are here to pay homage to some of the greatest thinkers of our time while helping you relax and meditate or fall asleep. So now, let's settle in to a comfortable position and get ready for some peaceful rest. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Tonight, we journey through the remarkable life of Stephen Hawking, a man whose mind explored the furthest reaches of the cosmos, even as his body slowly turned against him. A man who brought the mysteries of black holes and the origins of the universe into the living rooms of millions, and a man whose reflections on life, death, God, and meaning continue to shape the way we see ourselves in the vastness of space. Let us begin gently, slowly, with the beginning of his story. Stephen William Hawking was born on January 8, 1942, in Oxford, England. An auspicious date, the 300th anniversary of the death of Galileo, another scientist who challenged our understanding of the universe. Hawking himself would later joke, "I was born exactly 300 years after the death of Galileo." I would like to think this coincidence has some significance, but it probably only makes me a little extra proud to share his birthday. His parents, Frank and Isabel Hawking, were both deeply intellectual. His father was a medical researcher specializing in tropical diseases. His mother was an energetic, curious woman who valued education and discussion. The family was not wealthy, but they prioritized learning above all else. Books filled their home, and young Stephen, though not always a top student, displayed an extraordinary curiosity about how things worked. He loved to take apart clocks and radios, much to his parents' worry, though often he could not put them back together. Friends described him as a bright, witty, and a bit of a prankster. He was, as one childhood acquaintance recalled, a boy who laughed often and who liked to solve puzzles just for fun. As he grew, Stephen's fascination with the workings of the universe deepened. He studied at St. Albans School, where he was nicknamed Einstein by his peers, half in jest, but half in recognition of his obvious intellect. He went on to study physics at Oxford University at the age of 17. There, he found the coursework surprisingly easy at first, even boring at times. He later admitted he studied for only about an hour a day, spending much of his time rowing and socializing. Yet when the time came for his final exams, his brilliance shone through. He graduated with first-class honors in physics, securing his path to graduate work at Cambridge University. But just as his academic career was beginning to bloom, something ominous appeared. At Cambridge, Stephen began to notice unusual clumsiness. He stumbled at times, his speech occasionally slurred. A fall on the ice during his first year brought these symptoms into sharper focus. He was only 21 when doctors diagnosed him with ALS, a devastating motor neuron disease that gradually robs the body of control while leaving the mind untouched. The prognosis was bleak. Doctors told him he might only have 2 or 3 years to live. At first, Hawking fell into despair. He described those early days with haunting honesty. I seemed to be getting worse rapidly. There didn't seem to be any point in working on my PhD because I didn't know if I would live long enough to finish it. But something shifted in him. As he later put it, when one's expectations are reduced to zero, one really appreciates everything one does have. I found, to my surprise, he continued his research. He fell in love with a fellow student, Jane Wilde, whom he would later marry. He clung to life with determination, saying, "Although there was a cloud hanging over my future, I found to my surprise that I was enjoying life in the present more than before." His diagnosis, instead of ending his pursuit of knowledge, sharpened it. He threw himself into his work with renewed passion, as though racing against time itself. Take a slow breath in, hold it, and release. In these early years, we see the seed of Stephen Hawking's greatest lesson, that even when the body is frail, the mind can soar across galaxies, that even when time seems short, life can still expand into the infinite. Take another deep breath in and slowly exhale. Now that we have seen the beginnings of Hawking's journey, let us drift with him into the vastness of the cosmos. His body might have weakened, but his mind soared far beyond the stars. At Cambridge, Hawking joined the Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics. He came under the influence of another brilliant thinker, Roger Penrose. Together, they developed what would become known as the singularity theorems. Their work showed that under the laws of general relativity, the universe itself must have begun with a singularity, a point of infinite density, what we now call the Big Bang. This was a profound shift. Before Hawking and Penrose, some scientists still hoped for a steady state universe, eternal and unchanging. But Hawking's mathematics suggested otherwise. The universe had a beginning, a birth in time. He later reflected, the universe has not existed forever. Rather, the universe and time itself had a beginning in the Big Bang. It was not long before Hawking turned his attention to another mystery, black holes. At the time, black holes were thought to be cosmic dead ends, places where gravity was so intense that nothing, not even light, could escape. But Hawking had a gift for turning assumptions upside down. Using the strange and subtle rules of quantum mechanics, he showed that black holes were not completely black. Instead, they emitted tiny amounts of energy, a faint glow of particles, now known as Hawking radiation. This was revolutionary. It meant that black holes could, over immense stretches of time, evaporate. They were not eternal prisons, but temporary features of the cosmos. Hawking once joked, black holes ain't so black. The phrase captured both the humor and the daring of his insight. In the 1980s, Hawking proposed another second idea, one he called the no boundary proposal. He suggested that the universe might be finite, yet without boundaries. Like the surface of the earth, it is finite in area, but you can travel around it without ever encountering an edge. But he put it poetically. The universe would be completely self-contained and would not be affected by anything outside itself. It would neither be created nor destroyed. It would just be. This proposal removed the need for a divine spark at the beginning. If time itself was curved and self-contained, then asking what happened before the Big Bang was as meaningless as asking what lies north of the North Pole. Hawking's discoveries earned him international recognition. He became a Fellow of the Royal Society, a celebrated professor at Cambridge, and a scientist whose name would be forever linked with black holes and the birth of the universe. Yet through it all, he retained his humor. When asked what occupied his mind most of the time, he quipped, "Women, they are a complete mystery." Even in the face of illness, he found ways to laugh, to make others smile, and to remind the world that science, though serious, could also be joyful. Take a slow breath in, hold it, exhale gently. In this part of his journey, Hawking revealed to humanity that even the darkest places in the universe glow with possibility, that even black holes give back light. Take a breath in and let it out. As we turn from the chalkboards of Cambridge to the living rooms of millions, Stephen Hawking was not only a scientist, he became a storyteller of the universe. In 1988, Hawking published what would become one of the most successful science books of all time, A Brief History of Time. Its goal was ambitious: to explain the nature of the cosmos, black holes, relativity, and quantum theory in a way that ordinary people could grasp. Publishers expected modest success, perhaps a few thousand readers. Instead, the book became a global sensation. It sold more than 25 million copies, translated into over 40 languages. For a time, it sat on the Sunday Times bestseller list for a record-breaking 237 weeks. One journalist described it as the book that everyone bought, but few finished. And yet, countless readers, scientists and non-scientists alike, were captivated by Hawking's attempt to answer the biggest questions. Where did the universe come from? How does it work? And why does it exist at all? Hawking once remarked, "My goal is simple. It is a complete understanding of the universe, why it is as it is, and why it exists at all." The success of A Brief History of Time encouraged Hawking to keep writing for the public. He published Black Holes and Baby Universes in 1993, a collection of essays and lectures. In 2001, The Universe in a Nutshell brought colorful illustrations and diagrams to help readers grasp complex physics. Later came the Grand Design in 2010, in which Hawking boldly declared, "It is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going." His books weren't just science texts, they were invitations. Invitations to wonder, to curiosity, to humility in the face of the cosmos. Hawking's fame also brought him into popular culture. He made cameo appearances on Star Trek: The Next Generation, where he sat at a poker table with Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton. He appeared on The Simpsons, often poking fun at himself. In one episode, after outwitting Homer, he quipped, "Your theory of a donut-shaped universe is intriguing, Homer. I may have to steal it." These appearances made him a beloved figure, especially because he embraced humor about his own persona. He once said, "Life would be tragic if it weren't funny." Part of Hawking's public identity was his distinct, computerized voice. As ALS progressed, he lost the ability to speak and relied on a speech generating device. The synthetic American accented voice became iconic, inseparable from his image. He chose to keep it, even as technology advanced. He explained, "It has become my trademark, and I wouldn't change it for a more natural voice with a British accent. That robotic cadence, combined with his razor-sharp wit, gave his words an unforgettable presence." Through books, media, and humor, Stephen Hawking became a bridge between the mysteries of physics and the everyday wonder of people around the world. Breathe in slowly and release your breath as we turn from the stars themselves to the questions of meaning and the place of humanity in the cosmos. Stephen Hawking was often asked about God. After all, his work touched the edges of creation itself: the Big Bang, black holes, the beginning of time. Many wondered if he saw a divine hand in it all. But Hawking was clear. In his book, The Grand Design, he wrote, "It is not necessary to invoke God, to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going." He argued that the laws of physics, particularly gravity, were sufficient to explain the origin of the universe. In interviews, he sometimes put it more bluntly: there is no God. No one created the universe, and no one directs our fate. Inspired others and resonated deeply with those who valued science and reason. Yet Hawking was not dismissive of wonder, of the awe that the cosmos inspired. He said, "Science is not only a disciple of reason, but also one of be curious." This was Hawking's version. That meaning comes from what we create together. He urged people to embrace life, even in the face of difficulty. He said, remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious, and however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you don't just give up. His own life was proof of this philosophy. Stricken with ALS, unable to move or speak unaided, he nonetheless reached across the planet with his mind. Hawking's humanism was practical. He spoke about the need for compassion, for global cooperation, and for science to guide humanity toward survival. We are all different, he said, but we share the same human spirit. Perhaps it's human nature that we adapt and survive. Hawking also spoke openly about death. He rejected the idea of an afterlife. In 2011, he said, I regard the brain as a computer which will stop working when its components fail. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. This stark honesty was softened by his appreciation for the life he did have. He once reflected, my expectations were reduced to zero when I was 21. Everything since then has been a bonus. This way of living, grateful for each day, yet unafraid of the inevitable, is a deeply humanistic lesson. In his word, Stephen Hawking showed that we do not need divine plans to live meaningful lives, that wonder, joy, and purpose arise from curiosity, from love beneath the stars. Breathe in gently, hold for a moment, and let the breath go. We have traveled with Stephen Hawking through his early struggles, his great discoveries, his writings, and his reflections on God and human meaning. Now, let us dwell longer on his later work, on the way he continued to shape physics, philosophy, and public thought, even as his body grew more frail. One of Hawking's most enduring contributions and controversies was the black hole information paradox. When Hawking showed that black holes emit radiation, it raised a troubling problem. If black holes eventually evaporate away, what happens to the information about the matter that fell into them? Quantum mechanics insists that information cannot be destroyed, but Hawking's calculations suggested that it might be lost forever inside a black hole. He himself admitted, if information is truly lost, we would lose not just predictability in science, but the ability to describe the past precisely. This paradox puzzled physics for decades. Entire conferences were held to debate it. Some believed Hawking was wrong. Others sought creative resolutions. In 2004, after years of debate, Hawking conceded that he may have been mistaken, announcing that black holes might indeed allow information to escape in subtle ways. It was a testament to his scientific honesty that even the most brilliant theorist was willing to admit when evidence and arguments persuaded him otherwise. In his later career, Hawking pursued the grandest of quests, a theory of everything. He speculated that M theory, a framework uniting the 5 versions of string theory, might hold the key to explaining the fundamental laws of the universe. In the grand design, he wrote, M theory is the only candidate for a complete theory of the universe. If it is finite, and this has yet to be proved, it will be a model of a universe that creates itself. The laws of physics alone would be enough to explain the universe. This was Hawking at his boldest, attempting to show that all the cosmos could arise from nothing, governed only by natural law. Hawking did not confine himself to academic journals. He sought to bring cutting-edge physics into the public imagination. He delivered lectures on the BBC explaining black holes in terms accessible to ordinary listeners. He collaborated on children's books with his daughter Lucy, introducing young readers to the wonders of science through stories like George's Secret Key to the Universe. He appeared in documentaries, including Into the Universe with Stephen Hawking, where his memorable voice narrated the origins of life, the mysteries of time travel, and the future of humanity. These appearances weren't just entertainment. They were education infused with wonder. His goal was to inspire, to awaken curiosity in the minds of millions. As his fame grew, Hawking used his platform to issue stark but thoughtful warnings. On climate change, he warned that Earth could become as uninhabitable as Venus if we failed to act. On artificial intelligence, he cautioned the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. He feared that machines might evolve beyond our control, urging humanity to plan carefully. He also worried about nuclear war and pandemics, dangers he saw as ever present. His solution was to look outward, beyond Earth itself. He said, I don't think the human race will survive the next 1,000 years unless we spread into space. These were not the words of a pessimist. Both the fragility and the potential of human civilization by the 2000s, all predictions. He had been given only a few years at age 21. Instead, he lived to 76. He continued to lecture, to publish, and to mentor students. His wheelchair and voice synthesizer became part of his identity, a reminder that disability need not silence brilliance. When asked about his limitations, he said, although I cannot move and I have to speak through a computer, in my mind, I am free. This freedom of mind was what defined him. Hawking died on March 14th, 2018, fittingly on Pi Day and the birthday of Einstein. The symbolism was not lost on the world. Tributes poured in. Theoretical physicist Kip Thorne said he was a colossus who stood out against the background of our time. At Westminster Abbey, his ashes were interred between Newton and Darwin, a symbolic resting place among the giants who, like him, had reshaped humanity's understanding of nature. At his memorial service, a message from Hawking's voice was beamed into space toward the nearest black hole in the constellation Hercules. It was both poetic and fitting. His words carried into the cosmos he spent his life exploring. And now, a collection of quotes from Stephen Hawking. We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, but we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. Quiet people have the loudest minds. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Even if there is only one possible unified theory, it is just a set of rules and equations. What is it that breathes fire into the equations and makes a universe for them to describe? The usual approach of science of constructing a mathematical model cannot answer the questions of why there should be a universe for the model to describe. Why does the universe go to all the bother of existing? For millions of years, mankind lived just like the animals. Then something happened which unleashed the power of our imagination. We learned to talk and we learned to listen. Speech has allowed the communication of ideas, enabling human beings to work together to build the impossible. Mankind's greatest achievements have come about by talking, and its greatest failures by not talking. It doesn't have to be like this. Our greatest hopes could become reality in the future. With the technology at our disposal, the possibilities are unbounded. All we need to do is make sure we keep talking. It surprises me how disinterested we are today about things like physics, space, the universe, and philosophy of our existence, our purpose, our final destination. It's a crazy world out there. Be curious. I have noticed that even those who assert that everything is predestined and that we can change nothing about it still look both ways before they cross the street. I believe the simplest explanation is there is no God. No one created the universe, and no one directs our fate. This leads me to a profound realization that there probably is no heaven and no afterlife either. We have this one life to appreciate the grand design of the universe, and for that, I am extremely grateful. One of the basic rules of the universe is that nothing is perfect. Perfection simply doesn't exist. Without imperfection, neither you nor I would exist. In the universe, it may be that primitive life is very common and intelligent life is fairly rare. Some would say it has yet to occur on Earth. My goal is simple. It is a complete understanding of the universe, why it is as it is, and why it exists at all. The role played by time at the beginning of the universe is, I believe, the final key to removing the need for a grand designer and revealing how the universe created itself. Time itself must come to a stop. You can't get to a time before the Big Bang because there was no time before the Big Bang. We have finally found something that does not have a cause because there was no time for a cause to exist in. For me, this means there is no possibility of a creator because there is no time for a creator to have existed. Since time itself began at the moment of the Big Bang, it was an event that could not have been caused or created by anyone or anything. So when people ask me if a God created the universe, I tell them the question itself makes no sense. Time didn't exist before the Big Bang, so there is no time for God to make the universe in. It's like asking for directions to the edge of the earth. The earth is a sphere. It does not have an edge, so looking for it is a futile exercise. There is a fundamental difference between religion, which is based on authority, and science, which is based on observation and reason. Science will win because it works. If time travel is possible, where are the tourists from the future? People who boast about their IQ are losers. The thing about smart people is that they seem like crazy people to dumb people. I'm not afraid of death, but I'm in no hurry to die. Not only does God play dice, but sometimes he throws them where they cannot be seen. So Einstein was wrong when he said God does not play dice. Consideration of black holes suggests not only that God does play dice, but that he sometimes confuses us by throwing them where they can't be seen. We have finally found something that doesn't have a cause, because there was no time for a cause to exist in. For me, this means that there is no possibility of a creator, because there is no time for a creator to have existed in. A well-known scientist, some say it was Bertrand Russell, once gave a public lecture on astronomy. He described how the Earth orbits around the Sun, and how the Sun, in turn, orbits around the center of a vast collection of stars called our galaxy. At the end of the lecture, a little old lady at the back of the room got up and said, "What you have told us is rubbish. The world is really a flat plate supported on the back of a giant tortoise. The The scientist gave a superior smile before replying, "What is the tortoise standing on?" "You're very clever, young man, very clever," said the old lady, "but it's turtles all the way down." Ever since the dawn of civilization, people have not been content to see events as unconnected and inexplicable. They have craved an understanding of the underlying order in the world. Today, we still yearn to know why we are here and where we came from. Humanity's deepest desire for knowledge is justification enough for our continuing quest, and our goal is nothing less than a complete description of the universe we live in. Nothing is better than reading and gaining more and more knowledge. So long as the universe had a beginning, we could suppose it had a creator. But if the universe is really completely self-contained, having no boundary or edge, it would have neither beginning nor end. It would simply be. What place then for a creator? However bad life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. Where there's life, there's hope. Hawking's legacy rests on several pillars. Science, his work on singularities, black holes, and cosmology remains foundational. The information paradox continues to drive new research. Public communication. His books and lectures inspired countless people to study physics, to wonder, to imagine. Humanism. His courage in the face of disability, his atheism, and his embrace of life's wonder without divine design. These remain guiding lights for secular thinkers. Hope for the future. His call to curiosity, to space exploration, and to cooperation echo as humanity faces challenges ahead. So now, as we lie here beneath the night sky, let Stephen Hawking's words settle into us. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out slowly. Remember that life is precious, fragile, and fleeting. But within our brief span, we carry minds that can reach across galaxies. We do not need to look for meaning beyond the stars. We can find it in curiosity, in love, in knowledge, and in one another. As Hawking said in one of his final messages, be brave, be curious, be determined, overcome the odds. It can be done. So now let your breath soften. Let your body grow heavy. Let your thoughts drift outward into the quiet vastness. You are stardust, thinking about stars. You are the universe, understanding itself. Sleep now with reason.